So, I mean, you've had a bad moment in your life.
Yeah.
So you're starting behind the 8 ball, so to speak, of, hey, I just had a wreck. I want to know that you're going to take care of me and that you're going to keep me informed. But most importantly, that when I get my car back, it's going to be like it was before the wreck.
You're listening to the Auto Advice Podcast, brought to you by Toyota of Cool Springs. Welcome back to the podcast. We're so excited to have with us today Roger Gunter. Actually, up the street, we have a body shop and collision center, and he kind of runs the whole place. And we have a few questions that folks have been asking that are more body shop specific. And, right now at the time of this recording, it's been wintertime. We've had some cars kind of sliding into each other.
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited to answer some of y'all's questions and have Roger bring his expertise to the table. So, Roger, how you doing today, man?
I'm good. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to have you.
Yeah.
And first of all, before we kind of jump into everything that folks have been kind of asking about body shop world and collision center questions, I'd love to just explore a little bit of your background, how you got into the car industry, and just kind of tell us your story.
Yeah. I worked on cars since I was a kid. Just enjoyed growing up. I think we all started with a Hot Wheels addiction, started with 98 cents.
Yeah.
We go from there. And so I got in the collision industry at a young age, became a body man, did it for years as a collision center technician, and just worked my way up through the industry. It's hard work. It'll wear on your body. So eventually all of us kind of that do it a very long time transition to the front end, so to speak. I found my way into management, and now as the collision center director, and absolutely love it here at Toyota. It's been the best shop I've ever been a part of.
I love it, man. That's awesome. First thing that I'd love to explore is the elephant in the room. Why do repairs take so long, specifically today? What would your thoughts be on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's an excellent question as well. So especially Toyota owners, we're a Toyota certified collision center. So Toyota owners, for the most part, are really used to, they don't have a lot of maintenance. I mean, you're coming in for oil changes, coming in for tire rotations, brake jobs, etc. But for the most part, you're in and out in a day. So the collision center is completely different in the sense that with the collision center, we are disassembling large parts of the vehicles. It's not a very specific area where we're just doing an oil change. If you get, wiped down the whole side of a car, so to speak, and it's hit from the front bumper all the way to the rear bumper, we're disassembling doors, we're taking, disassembling fenders, front bumpers, rear bumpers, all the electronic systems. So there's just a lot that goes into it. Yeah. So it's a lot longer process. And used to, back in the day, it was just a different scenario of you could have a bumper job and it would only take a couple days, but just there's a lot of different scenarios now that present themselves that just take us longer, but we're just more in depth as a collision center as a whole versus a service department, that we're just touching a lot more areas of the vehicle, and so that the repairs just do take longer because of that.
What would you say are maybe some variables that affect how long the repairs are taking today versus, say, 10 or 20 years ago?
So today, for the most part, especially in our market, it's 98% insurance driven, and so a lot of it is insurance jobs that we're doing. We obviously do some customer pays and etc., but for the most part, mostly insurance jobs. And so because of that, we start off the process. You drop off, we get your authorization. We go from that to we dispatch it to a technician. They get it disassembled. We go from disassembly, then we're into what we like to call the supplemental process. There's almost always a supplement because there's hidden damage that you can't see until we disassemble that vehicle, and then there's more parts that are broken behind the part, so on and so forth. So then we enter into a supplemental process with the insurance company, or we go back and forth trying to make sure that we're erring on the side of the customer to try to get you everything that we asked for, everything that we wrote for, and so that we can do a proper quality repair for the customer. And it's just kind of a little bit of a back and forth, and we have good relationships with most of all the insurance companies, but there's just a process that go with it that takes they're short staffed at times, so it takes them some insurance companies a week to get back to us. So then the car sits a week, so we lose an entire week that we can't even touch the car until we have approval. And so we just run into a lot of that, and on top of that, we run into a lot of parts issues. Body shops now, we're in a post-COVID world, so to speak, and it used to a back-ordered part we get in 2 to 3 days. We have back-ordered parts now that we couldn't get for 6 months.
Wow.
And it's a real issue because we've got some of the brand new vehicles, and they're taking all of these parts and they're putting them on the new vehicles so that they can manufacture, because there's a little bit of a manufacturer shortage to a certain extent. Yeah. So we have trouble getting those parts because they need those parts to build the new cars. So when you have a brand new car and it is wrecked, every once in a while we do run into a lot of back ordered process parts that we used to just not.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. Let's say you want to get your car towed straight to the body shop, which is understandable. You just got into an accident and you're like thinking, okay, well, easy. I'll just tow it straight to the body shop. Why is that sometimes kind of an issue?
So a snowstorm recently was obviously a perfect example of that. We've got a lot of people that have had accidents, slid off the road, so on and so forth. Those vehicles aren't drivable. Most people don't have a backup vehicle, so they have to get into a rental immediately. They need to get into a shop immediately. So what we've seen, and I'm going to speak specifically to the Middle Tennessee area. I'm sure most of the country deals with this, but for the most part in our area, so we've had obviously a mass migration from the west, coming from California and et cetera and other places. So, I mean, you drive down the road here, we've all experienced the traffic. There's more traffic than there's ever been here before, because there's more people than there's ever been here before. And we also have a huge technician shortage, which is real. So the lack of technicians, and if you look at the statistics and the rates of techs getting into our industry now, it's just not what it used to be. So we have more wrecks than we've ever seen. We have less technicians than we've ever had, which we are fortunately one of the few shops I know that are fully staffed with technicians. Yeah. But because of that, we have to schedule out. Used to, you could come in, get an estimate, drop off the next day. Now we have, at any given time at our specific location, we have 150 to 160 cars that we're fixing at any time. And so we have to schedule out. And why we do that is for the best of the customer. We want to make sure that, you don't run on a rental if we can make sure that you can't. And with that being said, we also want to try to set an expectation for timeline of repair, because we want you to manage the expectation. We understand this is a rough moment in your life. You've just been in an accident. Now you don't have a car. You're driving a rental that you're not familiar with. And so we want to try to get you in and out of that rental as fast as we can.
Yeah. Insurance companies sometimes have a tendency to sway towards one shop or the other. Can you kind of explain why that might be?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's not a huge negative connotation to it that a lot of people think there is. So insurance companies have to take it to their network shop because a lot of times they're used to that company. They have a different understanding. They have an agreement there. There's agreed rates. There's a lot of different things that make sense for the insurance company to go to that shop. And it's not really bad or good, so to speak, but we always just put it in the customer's hands of, hey, you have the right to choose. Like, it's absolutely your vehicle. It's your choice, whatever shop you want to go to. Mm-hmm. And they may have a network shop, but if you don't feel comfortable going to that shop, you need to go to the shop that you feel the most comfortable with. Yeah. Whether it's their shop or not. If you've got someone, I mean, like I said, we're not DRPs for a lot of insurance companies around here, so we do most all across the board insurance companies, but mostly Toyota and Lexus because that's what we focus on is our manufacturer. So
there's a million different shops that people can go to. What kind of makes our shop a little bit different from some of the other ones around?
We have a different philosophy. A lot of shops, it's, hey, we're trying to get you in. I mean, obviously all shops are for profit, so they're trying to make money. They want to get you in, get you out, get you taken care of. We have kind of a three-phase philosophy at our shop, and it's called quality first, production second, cost third. We focus more on the process than the result. We feel that if you give good customer service and you provide high quality repairs, that the production and the cost are going to follow in suit. Okay. So we want to do what's best for the customer, and not that some shops don't do that, but quality is our first most important focus, especially with customer service. I mean, we're a collision repair center, so we're not a restoration facility, we're not a custom shop. So I mean, you've had a bad moment in your life. Yeah. So you're starting behind the eight ball, so to speak, of, hey, I just had a wreck. I want to know that you're going to take care of me and that you're going to keep me informed. Most importantly, that when I get my car back, it's going to be like it was before the wreck. Yeah. So that's what we try to offer, the peace of mind for the customers. So
yeah, maybe if there's some folks who are kind of watching this and hope it's not the case, but maybe they just got into an accident and like maybe we're flustered. Kind of walk us through the process of, okay, this just happened. What is going to happen next? A to Z.
So what you do if you've been in an accident, obviously it's a scary moment. You've just had a wreck. The easiest thing to do, obviously, you want to try to pull over, get out of general traffic because you don't want to risk having another accident right after the first one. The first thing to do is it's always a good idea to call the police. Just to have them document it. They can look through everything. They can document that, yes, you did have an accident in this spot, so on and so forth. Secondly, you want to exchange information. You want to give them your insurance information, get their insurance information, and then essentially you'll navigate through that of who's deemed at fault. And at that point, they'll decide what insurance company is going to cover it, who you're going to go through, and then pretty much you contact the insurance company and they just kind of walk you through the process. They'll set you up, usually have you come to a shop for an estimate. We schedule out estimates. We do them every single day. And then at that point, some insurance companies want to do their own initial estimate, and they usually will let you know that. And then sometimes we'll schedule you in to bring that initial insurance estimate, and then we'll walk through it with you, and we'll go through it to see how accurate it is. Hey, do we think we can fix it with this? We know there's going to be more. Keep you informed. And at that point, after we know kind of what we're dealing with, what we've got going on, we get you scheduled in on the calendar, and then you have a drop date. Usually we'll set you up in a rental. Most rental places will pick you up at our location, so you don't have to shuffle around to get a friend to help you out or anything. They'll come pick you up there. You'll drop the vehicle off with us, and then we start the process. Mm-hmm. It goes into disassembly. We find hidden damage. We go through the supplemental process, and then at that point, we go from there to just facilitate all the repairs, and we keep you updated along the way.
And what would kind of be the biggest piece of information that you feel like maybe folks don't know to ask, but it's just vital to understanding the collision repair process?
The biggest thing is that you just have a right to choose whatever shop you want to take it to, despite what anyone wants to tell you. And then on top of that, make sure that you choose a shop that you're comfortable with, that you feel is going to deliver a high quality of repair and is going to keep you informed and has good customer service. A lot of people want to go to a place that's close to their home or is local, but every once in a while, we have people that'll drive to us. We had a car the other day, a customer came all the way from Clarksville because they've had their car repaired for us. They used to live closer, but they knew the expectation of the customer service we deliver, the quality of expectation and that we deliver and repair, so that they knew that they were going to get a good product back, so they didn't mind making the extra drive even though they don't live close anymore.
Sure. Yeah, that's great. Well, Roger, I really appreciate you coming and being on the show with us today. Any last thoughts you want to leave folks with?
Yeah, pretty much. We book appointments just by calling. We have a receptionist. She's there full time. We're open Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 5:30. So essentially, you can call. We'll schedule an appointment. We'll book you in. We'll fit you in, and then essentially we just go through the scheduling process. If you got any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. A lot of people just have random questions about, hey, I've just gotten a wreck. Do I need to bring it there immediately? So on and so forth. And we don't mind helping you with the process. Because it is new for a lot of people. Most people service, you get oil changes regularly. Most people hopefully don't get in wrecks regularly, so it's not a familiar process for them. So with that being said, we don't mind walking you through it and taking that time, the extra step, to make sure that you understand, what's happening out there. And then secondly, I would just say be safe out there and try not to text while you're driving. As great as it is for our industry to, boost more repairs, we want you to be safe, most importantly, as customers. And a large part of our accidents that are related today due to technology, even though you have so much more collision avoidance and sensors and lane departure and everything else, it still unfortunately doesn't account for human error. So if you're texting while you're driving, you're not paying attention, you may be okay for a couple times, but you're usually eventually going to have a wreck. So
yeah, y'all heard it straight from Roger himself, which, by the way, he's incentivized for y'all to text while you're driving, which means he actually does care about you being safe. So y'all stay safe out there. Don't text while you're driving. Roger, thanks again for coming on the show, my friend.
Absolutely.
And by the way, guys, if you're just finding this podcast, it's the Auto Advice Podcast. Our goal is to help you navigate the auto industry and every part of it. And so we're thankful to have Roger and the team in our dealership family here as the Collision Center. If you need those guys, contact information is in the show notes for this episode. Feel free to reach out to them, and they'd be glad to help you through the process. And we'll see you next time on the Auto Advice Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Auto Advice Podcast. If you found this episode helpful, please consider texting it to someone who could use it and leave a review wherever you're listening, which will allow us to help more people navigate the ever-changing automotive world. The Auto Advice Podcast provides advice and opinions from individuals featured on the show. It is important to note that these opinions are solely those of the individuals and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of Toyota of Cool Springs. Listeners should exercise their own judgment and discretion when considering and implementing any advice or information provided in the podcast. Toyota of Cool Springs assumes no responsibility for any actions taken by individuals based on the information or opinions shared in this episode. Please consult with professionals or experts in the respective fields for specific advice or guidance related to your particular situation. Again, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Auto Advice Podcast.